What causes the labor demand curve to shift? Output price, productivity, and prices of other factors. I know you guys already know about this. Let me just review a little bit so that if in case you have forgotten, so you can recall that. Okay, so when we say output price in the labor market, product market basically, output price in the product market. Okay, if it increases, then the firm would actually generate more revenue. Okay, now in that case, on each level of output, on each level of each unit of labor, firm would actually get more revenue. That means MRP will be higher. Okay. See, this is in case of product market, so demand is increasing for product or good in the product market. As a result, price is higher. So the effect would be there will have higher labor demand. Okay, and the reason is because the unit of labor, the equilibrium unit of labor at this point of time, the kind of revenue was generated. Okay, at this unit of labor, we see there will have higher revenue generation. Okay, not because of productivity, but because of change in price in the market. Now at this at this unit of labor, we see a higher MRP. That means the ideal decision would be to hire more laborers and make that MRP equal to MRC. As a result, we see the firm would hire more laborers. Okay, so demand for labor will increase if there is increase in price of the product in the product market. Okay, then we talked about productivity. Now productivity is subject to technological change. If there is change in technology, productivity by the each level would increase. Okay, so I've used some example. For example, apparel industry or textile industry. There we see without or before this sewing machine discovered, people used to use their hand to make clothes, and they would work hours after hours, or maybe 1 day or 2 days to make only 1 or 2 cloths. Okay, but with the invention of this sewing machine, now we see one unit of labor can produce many cloths. Probably one unit of labor could produce 10 cloths or maybe 100 cloths in some cases. Okay, though I'm not sure, but I'm just guessing that yes, probably their output will increase. So the labor which is to produce one cloth in a day, now that same unit of labor would produce 10 cloths in a day. As a result, we see productivity of the labor will increase. Okay, now if productivity increases, then if price is constant in the market, then the firm would find it is profitable to hire more workers and then produce more output. The reason is because the firm would generate more revenue. Sorry, not the firm. Each unit of labor would generate more revenues. Okay, for the firm. Another technological change that we have seen, the production line. In case of car industry, we have seen before production line, one car is to be produced, and that could take 1 week or 1 month or maybe more than that. Okay, so after the production line, now we see that in a single day there could have many cars be produced, or in a month maybe hundreds or maybe thousands of cars can be produced. Why? Because it makes pretty much easier or systematic to produce from the beginning to end. Okay, and that's why output increases. If output increases, because of production line, then firm would think, why not to expand it by hiring more laborers? Okay, so as a result, labor demand would also increase if firms are producing more and more cars. And in the real world also we see that the kind of the number of cars car producers used to produce 30, 40 or 60 years back, and the number of cars they are producing right now, there's a huge difference. And that's why they are hiring more and more laborers to produce more and more cars now because of this technological change. Okay, so when there is technological change, what happens? Productivity by the each labor increases, and as a result, marginal revenue generated on each individual labor unit of labor also increases. Okay, as a result, demand for labor increases in the market. If there is advancement in technology or there is change in technology in positive way. Okay, quantity of other resources. So if you have other resources such as like tools or office space, sorry, factory space, if those are given enough, then what happens? Again, productivity by the workers increases. Now, why am I saying that? If tools are not given enough, if enough space not given to the workers, then some of the workers become idle. Okay. Now, if they are idle, that means they are not producing at that point of time. That means productivity for that labor will decrease. Now, not only that, it will also affect the overall productivity of the firm. Okay. So, what happens if enough or sufficient tools are provided, or maybe enough space provided so that workers can move easily, can perform their work conveniently, then they used to avoid the idle time, or the firm can avoid the idle time, and as a result of that, that idle time will be used to produce something which would lead to increase in productivity by the workers. And when that happens, then that worker would actually generate more revenues. If I consider, let's say the price is constant, so now we have more production, so cost will go down. As a result, each worker's marginal revenue generated by each worker would increase, and as a result, the firm would like to demand more workers. Okay, so in that case also we'll have shift in labor demand curve towards rightward. Okay, next one is about quality of variable resources. Now again, when we talk about increase in labor demand, then we see what? We see that if quality of the labor is increased, okay, then it is likely they will produce more. If they produce more, that means cost again goes down, and marginal revenue of product generated by each individual labor would actually increase. Okay, so what we see, if we have workers, okay, who are trained, then it is likely they are going to make less mistakes, and they can save more time also by producing more output. Okay. Also, if we see that if enough facilities regarding education and skill provided to the workers, if workers are skilled or educated, then they would be able to produce more compared to the workers who are not educated, because their level of thinking does not act at the same level that an educated worker would perform. Okay. So if the quality of variable resources are higher, then it is likely that productivity by the each labor would increase, causing marginal revenue product to increase. As a result, demand for labor curve will shift rightward. Okay, then we have other factors. So here in this case we see we have labors, and sometimes labors are substituted with the capital goods like machineries. Okay, now what if the price of capital goods or machineries go down? Okay, then relatively labor would be relatively costlier. So immediately a firm would decide to buy machines instead of hiring laborers to continue the production. And if that happens, then we see there will have substitution effect. And as for the substitution effect, firm would prefer more of capital goods or machineries over labors. So demand for laborers in that case is going to go down. Okay. That means they will have shift leftward. Okay, prices of other goods in case of other factors. So here we see we have machine and also worker. Now prices of machine has gone down. Now that also gives some kind of opportunity. Okay, not all the cases, but some cases what happens if a firm is buying capital goods like machineries at lower prices, and that machineries are so those machines are so much effective that the firm can produce more output. Now if the firm can produce more output, then the firm finds opportunity that okay, here we have cost going pretty much lower, okay, and we have got an opportunity to hire some laborers so that we can have two set of production. So in one set of production we use machines to produce, and due to that reason we have low cost. So due to the low cost we may use another set of production, okay, where we can use laborers to produce. In that case the total output would increase. Okay, so the firm would consider hiring more laborers if prices of machineries are lower and productivity by the machines are much higher. So in that case we see labor demand may also increase. So it is not always that substitution effect would work. Sometimes there will have output effect. Okay, in case of output effect there may have higher demand for labor. Okay, now sometime also it may be seen that if firm prefers to buy more machines, then they may also like to have more workers to operate those machines. So it is not like if a firm buys machineries to produce output, it would always decrease the employment of labor or hiring of labor. Sometimes laborers would be needed to maintain or operate those machines. So in that case there may have higher demand for laborers who can operate those machines or maintain those machines. So in both cases we see output effect will be the factor that may also cause labor demand to go higher, okay, even though firms are buying more machines. So they will have rightward shift in the labor demand curve. Okay. Now we discussed about substitution effect and also output effect. Now which one will be greater? That will actually affect the labor demand. So see, if in this case if we have substitution effect is greater than output effect, maybe the firm firm has bought so much of machines, okay, because the prices were lower, but not that cheap. Yeah, comparatively, using labor, the production with using labor could be cheaper, but still it's costly. Okay. So in that case, if those machines are not producing too much, or the productivity by those machines are relatively higher but not that much, okay, and probably those machines may not need that much of workers to operate or something. So in that case what happens, firm would severely focus on the substitution effect. Okay, they may not focus on the output effect, or output effect may not be a factor here. So if that happens, then the firm would actually focus on the machines more than the labors. If that happens, then the labor demand is purely going down. But opposite may happen if output effect is going to be greater than the substitution effect. Okay. So if output effect is greater than the substitution effect, then demand for labor is going to increase. Now a firm would actually go by both of it, okay, and then find out what is that is actually helping the firm to increase the output. That means the firm would go for net effect, okay, and then would choose one of these, and then decide whether to demand more labors or demand less labors. Okay. Now we have complementary effect, the same under the same point, prices of other factors. So here in this case I've used this example. We see that fuel and the trucks, they are very much complementary. If fuel prices increase, then transport companies would not buy so many trucks, okay, that's because it's really costly to run trucks on the road. If they find that it's really costly and they would not buy trucks, then they would not demand labors. So what we see, the fuel prices and trucks, in a way, fuel prices and demand for drivers, truck drivers, are very much complementary in nature. Okay. So if fuel prices decreases, they will have higher demand for truck drivers, because it would be profitable for transport companies to run more trucks on the road. Okay. Now truck drivers are considered here as labor, so we see they will have shift in labors, either positive or negative. That means rightward or leftward. Okay, so fuel prices decreasing means there will have higher demand for labors. Shift in the labor demand, okay. An increase in the labor demand basically tells us what? Now, it tells us that increase in demand makes it possible for firms to hire more workers if the shift is rightward. Okay. Now we already discussed that if there is shift, then the last unit of labor hired or used would actually generate more revenues, more marginal revenues. Okay, marginal revenue of product would be higher if there is rightward shift. Okay. Also, if there is a rightward shift in the demand curve, though we have not discussed there, but in general, what happens? Upward shift in a demand curve means prices to go higher. Now, as we know that the prices here in this case is wages, so wages may be higher. Okay. Wages in the market will be higher. There will have upward pressure on the wages. Okay, it also raises the value of the marginal product. We already know about that. Now, whatever we have discussed, there may have opposite reaction if there is a leftward shift in the labor demand curve. Okay, so whatever we talked, exactly we can see here. So what we see, if there is shift in demand curve rightward, then wages increasing. At the same time, we see employment is also increasing. Okay. So wages increasing, also employment increasing, remember. Okay, as wages increases, quantity of labor supplied would also increase. Okay, so we have got few questions.